Hello, welcome to the Absolute Football Podcast and another one of our super end of the season specials. It's the story of the season for Accrington Stanley. We're going to talk all about Accrington Stanley today. So I have the most knowledgeable member on our team on Accrington Stanley, the Accrington Stanley fan herself. Rebecca's joining me. Rebecca, how you doing?
I am very good, thank you. Exciting to speak all things Accrington in what's been an up and down season. But yeah, very good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm enjoying these specials so far. It's quite nice to dive into just a particular club on stuff. I did the Rochdale one with Charlotte and was saying, obviously, we do the lower league podcast and the Premier League podcast, and you have to talk about so many teams, so you kind of can't give one team that focus. So it's really nice to do with Accrington. Of course, you joined the Absolute Football Podcast this season as well. I think you're one of the only members that's been on all three shows as well: Premier League, Women's Super League, and the lower league as well. How are you enjoying your time on the podcast?
I'm loving my time on the podcast, being able to talk all things football in WSL, Lower League and Premier League, even if it does do my head in sometimes with talking about certain results. But it's such a good team, such a good community that's being built. And yeah, I do enjoy waffling on about it. And you do all take on board my waffling about certain players.
It's got to be done. We've all got our favourites, and everyone has their own. Everyone has their own waffles. You've got to have a waffle or two on them. It's a podcast at the end of the day. If none of us spoke, it would be pretty boring. It'd be over pretty quickly. So we've got plenty of waffling. Today it's all about Accrington. We're going to look at Accrington. So we're going to talk about the 2023-24 season. So just a quick introductory video to bring up here to bring you up to speed on what happened with Accrington the season before and what they're anticipating in the season 23-24. Accrington finished their 22-23 season in a disappointing fashion. A difficult campaign saw the club finish in 23rd place in League One, therefore suffering the heartbreak of relegation. It ended a 5-year stay in the third tier of English football for Accrington after securing mid-table finishes the past few seasons under John Coleman. But relegation to League Two meant a new division, new teams to compete with for the new season. On our Absolutely Lower League show, previewing the new season back in August, fans voted on where they believed the club would finish, with the Stanley fans backing a bottom half finish, but clear of relegation. And there we go. Accrington obviously, sadly, relegated the season before, down from League One after a period of time into League Two. So what were your expectations at the start of the season, Rebecca, having sadly gone down from League One? What were you thinking about for the season in League Two?
Personally, I was really hoping that we bounced back quite positively. I did really hope that we'd be top table, if not pushing for playoffs. I knew it'd be quite hard because you look at the teams that are currently in League Two with the likes of Wrexham and Stockport that have been the big names in there. But I was really hoping that we'd be up there fighting, but it was a difficult time for the club.
As you say, some tough big names that were in there into League Two. You say Stockport, Wrexham, Notts County obviously were going up as well. They were sat amongst it, and I'd say you had a good fight as we'll come through the season. There was parts where they certainly dealt well. What was that? How you felt? How did the rest of the fan base feel? Do you think it was kind of a generic? Everybody felt that, or do you think some people were a bit more pessimistic with how your season would go?
I think we all had different points, and speaking to other Accrington fans, I think they've called me crazy with saying, I think we'll be pushing for playoffs. Quite a lot we're thinking, this will be like the season that we just group together, we do what we need to do, and as long as we stay up, we're happy.
Yeah, I suppose it's a different two sides of the coin, isn't it? Having gone down, you're used to probably as well. You've had a disappointing watching them lose week after week. But I like that, we're just going to storm the league. I like it. Just go with the full confidence, being like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. So in terms of League Two versus League One, how did you find was it a clear gap? Could you see the difference in the leveling of football, or was it quite a tight between League One and League Two?
For me, there was a bit of a difference, especially when you look at the higher teams that we were playing against. So your Ipswich's, Plymouth, Bolton. So it's like the ones that we're fighting up at the top as well as Derby. And we did really struggle against them teams as seen. And that was like the main difference that I saw. But when we were playing other teams, there wasn't much. And it can be seen in, I know we'll cover this later on, but the Cup, when we beat Lincoln, they had a full strength squad out. and we were able to beat them 1-0, and you couldn't tell a difference. Mm-hmm. So it was a bit different in League Two. Everyone just seems to be like a lot closer, but I didn't see much of a difference.
No, so it is. There's a lot of good teams in amongst both League One and League Two, I think, and sort of the transition. You just look at sort of how some of the other teams, compared to Accrington, obviously Forest Green probably being one went straight went straight through the league, so it can be sort of quite a jump for some coming down. But going into the new season, obviously you're in League Two, but one of the most exciting things I always find about a new season is it means there's some new shirts. The new shirts are available when you get to the start of the season. So I just brought up on screen here your home, away, and your thought. What did you make of this season's shirts, and did you have a particular favourite out of those three?
My favourite was the away shirt. It's so different for us. I mean, 22-23, we just had plain red home shirt, plain white away, and a black third shirt. So this season it was a lot like more bold, and the home shirt, it showed more of it, celebrated the history of the club and the town of Accrington with the bricks on it and things like that. And then you had the away, which my favourite, the blue and white, I thought was great. And the collar edition, I love a collar on a football shirt now. I think it does look really good. And then the third shirt was our bolder shirt, which was designed. The design was inspired by Tiffany glass, I think it was. And that was like our standout shirt. And I do like them all, but the main one that stood out for me was the away. But I do have a soft spot for the home, seeing that I did sponsor Seb's home shirt.
There you go. I like the fact always when you have something that links it to the town or to the club or the city, or whoever it is. It's nice to have those elements, and so I do like that away one is quite clean with the blue and the white, as you say. It's like the collars coming back around. I remember the 90s always had sort of collars on the shirts. It disappeared off, so it's nice to see the odd sort of collars and away shirts and third shirts. It gives the club a little bit of a chance to go a bit wild, do something different, because you're always limited with a home shirt, I find, because you can only do so much with those colours, can't you? And obviously you can't, if you turned up with a blue shirt, there'd be blooming everyone would be going absolutely nuts, wouldn't they, come first day of the season? So no, I think that's a good collection of shirts you got there. Of course, so we did mention you coming down from League One, therefore meaning that you had quite a lot of transition and changeover in the squad as well. So we'll just sort of bring up a quick video with the highlights of what happened in the transfer window for you before the season. With relegation to League Two came a turnover of players for Accrington to contend with. A number of first team and youth team players moved on at the end of their contracts. This included Mitch Clark, who ended up at Port Vale, Michael Nottingham, who moved to Scotland with Livingston, and Harvey Rogers, who made the switch to fellow League Two side Grimsby Town. Mo Sangare also joined Nottingham north of the border, signing with Scottish Premiership side Livingston. While Northern Irish midfielder David Morgan returned to Southport in the National League North with their new manager, and Accrington also lost Ethan Hamilton, their Scottish midfield starter, as he remained in League One, joining Lincoln City. Coming into the club, Accrington saw joining the ranks experienced fullback Kelvin Miller from Crewe Alexandra, young goalkeeper Jack McIntyre and midfielder Ben Woods enhanced the squad from Inverness Caledonian Thistle. Accrington also did some excellent business in the loan market, bringing in Brad Hills from Norwich City, a young centre-back who proved himself exceptional during the season, was a real coup for Accrington over the summer. A number of loan deals for Andrews, Shipley, Gubbins and McCracken were also secured to bolster the Accrington cause for the new division and new challenges ahead. So there we are, a lot of players moving on from Accrington over the summer and coming in. In terms of the outgoings, is anybody you were particularly sad or disappointed to see leave the club?
There were two main ones for me. So I was gutted to see Ryan Astley leave. I experienced he'd never fall in love with a loan player. I did think I'd found a loophole with him being on loan from Everton, but I didn't, because he's now at Dundee. But I thought he was an incredible centre-back for us. The tackles that he made, he added goals to his game as well. He was just a solid figure at the back. He did unfortunately pick up an injury towards the end, so he didn't see out his full time at Accrington, but I'd have had him back in a heartbeat this season. He was incredible for us. And also losing Ethan Hamilton. What a midfielder he is. Every time he was on the pitch, he was just outstanding for us. The challenges, the speed he's got. I don't even know if he is actually a midfielder because he played as a striker, he played as midfield, he played as a centre, he played everywhere on the pitch, no matter what. And the goals he scored, you'd never see Ethan Hamilton score a tap in. It's either halfway line or just outside the box. But yeah, they were two big misses for us. I mean, like Michael Nottingham was another. He was our player advocate. So to lose him, I'll add a third one in. So to lose him was quite a big loss, especially with him being a centre-back. So that was two of our main defensive partners gone. So it was quite hard hitting in summer with the players we lost, and we did have quite a few gaps to fill. But it was a very difficult time seeing your favourites leave.
Yeah, it's not easy. I suppose you go down, your players get cherry-picked to an extent at the end of their contracts, and obviously the lower leagues tends to be sort of shorter range contracts anyway, doesn't it? So you're kind of always at risk, and then you're just sort of hoping as you turn on the computer the next day that your favourite's still there and he's sort of signed a 1-year deal or something. So yeah, sad to see those players leave. So Ethan Hamilton's done, he's been a great player. I think he was a United youth player, Ethan Hamilton was, Manchester United, I think, and yeah, very versatile, great little player that you had there. So yeah, shame he moved on. But you did obviously bring some players in for the new season. Out of those that came in, anyone that particularly excited you that you were pleased to grab the signature of?
We did do quite a bit of business, especially with loans, and the standout for me is Brad Hills. He joined the club at the age of 19, so you're thinking, right, a very young centre-back, what's he going to be like? He is one of the best centre-backs I've seen play. He was incredible. When he wasn't playing, you could tell we missed him massively at the back. He's such an intelligent player for such a young age. And to just see him grow and thrive at Accrington was amazing. He was a standout, and he was also awarded Player of the Season as voted by the fans. And not everyone likes voting for loan players, but I think everyone's experienced and never fall in love with a loan player again with Brad Hills, because honestly, we can see him going far, and we think that depending on the situation with Norwich, whether they get promoted to the Premier League or stay in the Championship, we can see him being in the starting 11 very soon for Norwich.
Yeah, it's exciting. He's had an excellent season, as you said, on loan from Norwich. At the point of recording, they are waiting their second leg of their semi-final of the Championship to see what happens. But you would certainly imagine if they don't go up, that a starting berth is. I think quite a few Norwich fans are quite excited to see him come back and to see whether we can sort of slot straight in the season that he's had for you. So yeah, unfortunately, one that I think is going to be difficult to get back, but you never know. Maybe could come again. So yeah, so Brad Hills was one of the top signings you had in there. So if we're going to move on now to the start of the season and how the season kind of worked out for you. Obviously, we'll pick up here on screen. We've got the first portion of the season, so I've kind of put it into quarters as best we can with the league table, with postponements and everything. So this is after 12 games, so it might be slightly different when it was actually at that point. But so Accrington were 11th after 12 matches. Started the season off pretty well. Of course, we have to mention the first result at the top. Started off the season with a 3-0 win at home to Newport. Of course, Kieran on the podcast's club as well. How was opening day and beating Newport 3-0?
It was a great start. I mean, a clean sheet. We had 3 players making their debut in our defence. So to keep a clean sheet, that was very positive. We had 3 different goal scorers. So you're like, we're off here. 3-0 win.
That's what you want, yeah.
3-0 win. You had, I think it was Jack Nolan, who was our overall leading goal scorer this season, Sean Morley and Adedoyin on the score sheet. So it was 3 very positive players on there. So it was a really good one, and it got the fans excited for the season coming up, because you're like, right, first match in, we're on the bounce, we've been relegated, let's go, let's do this. And then We'll just skip the next one.
We'll just leave it there. They won their first game and everything was fantastic, and the rest of the season didn't happen. But I suppose that's all you could do first game, get a win at home, but it's positive. But I mean, your start wasn't too bad. I mean, the first 5 games you got there, you've only lost once, and to be fair, Gillingham were on a bit of a tear at the start of the season as well, weren't they? So and so if you look at the kind of losses in those opening games that you got there, it was away at Notts County, again, just come up very strong at the top of the table at that point. Mansfield, who obviously had a sensational season. Stockport, who had a sensational season. So they're teams that, they were, you were losing, you lost a few of the sort of strong teams around there. Was there any standouts for you in terms of those losses where you looked at one of those sides and went, oh, okay, yeah, there's these are quality?
Stockport was a big standout match in terms of of loss. I mean, their season was incredible, and when they came to us, you're just like, yeah, they're a different level. Like, you could tell. I mean, we did show up, and it was a good match, but you just knew that we were going to struggle. I mean, another standout for me in terms of a win was the Harrogate match. 98th minute winner from Jack Nolan from a free kick, which I will secure the 3 points. Bearing in mind, we did have 10 men because Seb got sent off.
Oh, Seb, no. We'll come on to Seb later, but that's not a great start for Seb.
No, so we took the lead quite early on. I think it was 28th minute. They equalised 89th. And then we're like, right, great, settling for the draw. We're like, right, Seb's been sent off. We're just going to go for a draw. And then 98th minute winner. I think no one expected it, but what a match that was, and what an atmosphere it brought towards the end. And we just thought, right, we've had 2 iffy results in terms of Gillingham and Barrow. So to pick up that win to then try and get us going again, we were like, oh, right, let's go. But it's been a form of ups and downs in terms of season, in terms of form, as you can see with the results in the first 12.
Yeah, it does seem that way, doesn't it? Yeah, kind of can't really get a run together. I mean, Salford followed after that Harrogate win, so that was a nice win for you. And obviously Sutton and Forest Green were both well down there, so good wins that you need to get over them, because everyone else was pretty much beating them as well to take those kind of 3 points. So as you were there, sort of 11th, you're not far off sort of playoffs. So probably I would imagine after 12 games, you're thinking, okay, we're sort of settled now. Can we push on? I guess was where you were thinking.
Yeah. I was thinking my prediction's going to come in here. We're pushing. We're doing okay. We're hanging on. Playoffs are there. They're there. I was like, all these Accrington fans saying I'm crazy. Just watch.
Just watch. The dream is in reach. The dream is in reach. And of course, it's not just the league that was going on. Of course, you competed in 3 cup competitions as well. So we had the FA Cup, the EFL Cup, and the EFL Trophy. So again, we'll just run this sort of quick highlights in terms of how you performed in the cups.
Accrington suffered defeat in the opening rounds of both the EFL Cup and the FA Cup. Bradford City ended their progress in the EFL Cup first round with a penalty shootout defeat of Accrington after a 1-1 draw played out in normal time. And Doncaster stopped Accrington's dreams of emulating last season's run in the FA Cup, which saw them play Leeds United, as they faced defeat following a replay in November. The 2-2 exciting first leg then saw a replay with a 2-1 win for Doncaster in extra time to send Accrington out. But the EFL Trophy did bring a positive run for Accrington, as they saw victories over Carlisle United at home and Harrogate Town away in the group stage, enough to see them qualify. Despite a defeat to Nottingham Forest under-21s, Accrington finished top of their group and qualified for the second round. Waiting there were League One Lincoln City, who were dispatched with a goal of the season from Roser Longolo with a wonder strike and a 1-0 win. Unfortunately though for Accrington, it was Bolton who stood in their way again, and their campaign ended in the third round, with some positive memories along the way of their EFL Trophy run.
So there we go. So knocked out early of the EFL Cup and the FA Cup. We'll come to the EFL Trophy in a bit. But say the FA Cup, any memories? Say replay with Doncaster, close in the first leg. Any memories of that one?
I mean, a great away trip out. It was 2-2 in the first leg. It was a good comeback from Accrington. But then the second leg, the replay, it wasn't it. It went to extra time. We struggled, and it just wasn't. It wasn't the prettiest of watches, should we say? And it was very disappointing to see us get knocked out so early on, especially compared to last season. I know it's different team and everything, but we made it to the 4th round and got Leeds. So to get knocked out by Doncaster in the 1st round, if you're looking back to see like, oh, well, we got this far in the previous season, you are very disappointed to be out first.
Yeah, I suppose that's it with the cup and that memory of the previous season. Is that one you always look to for the FA Cup, thinking just get us through to that 3rd round so we can see if we can get a nice tie? As you say, was that your favourite last season in terms of big FA Cup ties you've had for Accrington?
Yeah, Leeds. It was weird seeing Patrick Bamford running at the Wham. It was, but yeah, it was a good match as well, because I think it finished 3-1. But you wouldn't know that we'd lost. Like, the fans all the way through and even after, the atmosphere was like we've never seen before. So it was such a good experience because it brought everyone together more.
Yeah. Well, the cup runs just do something amazing. It's just such an incredible part of football. I know we've discussed it many times on lower league, on Premier League, on just the FA Cup and what it does for a cup run. Obviously, this season we've had incredible stuff from Maidstone, from Coventry making the semi-finals, and it's just been such unbelievable stories. And hopefully that continues, even though they're trying to batter away replays. But we won't go into that because we'll be here for another hour if we get into FA Cup replays. But a cup that you did perform quite well in was the EFL Trophy. So you made the 3rd round, got out of the group, and then won your 2nd round as well. What's your memories of the EFL Trophy run?
The match against Lincoln, the 2nd time we tried to play it. I think 1st time they got there, and it was 7:45 kickoff. At about 47, they called it off. So everyone was there, everyone was ready, and then we're there ready for kick-off, and thought, oh yeah, it's been called off. So
brilliant.
That was interesting. But
well,
yeah, when we did play it, as I said earlier, in terms of the difference in team, there wasn't much. I mean, seeing Ethan Hamilton play against us was one of the hardest things I think I've watched, along with Lucas Jensen, because he's signed for Lincoln. He was on loan with us last season. So it was a very tough watch in terms of him going in for tackles against our players. So you just think you played with them last season. But
how dare you?
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good match. We did all think it was going to go to penalties, but then Ros Longello with an absolute worldie that saw him win goal of the season. I think it was 90-something minute. I don't have it exact, but honestly, never expected it, because I was saying, like, going into it, we're against a League One side. I'll be happy if we keep it to within a goal, and then we go and beat them. I was like, oh, it was a good one. And then Bolton in the next round, I think they knocked us out of the semi-finals last season. But they were completely different. You do see a difference in them. They were all over us at times. I mean, we did get one. But yeah, it was, I think as soon as we got Bolton, we're all there like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Well, in terms of, say, that trophy, Bolton are probably as strong as you could get there. Then Derby and Portsmouth at the top, of League One are probably going to be the ones you want to avoid. So yeah, you're thinking, damn the draw.
Yeah. Why Bolton again? Can you not give us anyone else?
Yeah, leave us alone just for one season. Nice draw, please. But so yeah, that was a good little sort of cup run in the EFL Trophy. But of course, then back to the league, and what was going on in the league. So I'll just whip that over. There we go. So this is now up to halfway as we follow in. You've gone up 11th to 9th. What a run! See, Rebecca's prediction is coming true. It's going to happen. We're going to change history here tonight, and it's going to keep going up. So great little run at the start there. Three wins on the trot. Grimsby, MK Dons, AFC Wimbledon as well. What was your feeling going in the start then, thinking something's happening here?
Yeah, you are thinking like, oh, we're on a really good form. You've got Worley scoring in the Grimsby and the MK Dons match. So you're like, right, he's got his scoring boots on. We're off here. Got Josh Andrews, who was our striker on loan. He scored against Grimsby. And he did struggle at times for goals. There were some times where you're like, it could go a couple of matches scoring each one. And then other times you're like, how have you missed that? But it was quite... he was a unit of a striker, but you cross the ball over and you find him. And the Wimbledon match, we have struggled this season with Joe Pritchard suffering from injuries. He's been one of our key players that we've missed because he has been in and out of the side, but he netted 2 in that one. And then I think Brad Hills, centre back, he found himself on the score sheet, and I think it was Tommy Lee as well. He did come under quite a bit of criticism from fans this season. Compared to what we've seen in previous seasons, there was quite a bit of, oh, he's not performing as well as he should be and things like that, but he's getting the goals for us at times, so you're happier with that. But it has been quite a difficult one. I mean, then you go from 3 wins to a 1-0 defeat to Colchester and then Crawley, which it was frustrating to see, but then you go on and beat Wrexham.
This is football in a nutshell, isn't it? Yeah, you sort of look at the fixtures and everybody does it with their club, don't they? Go, oh yeah, that one, yeah, that's a 3 points there, and the amount of times it's the other way around or something crazy. I mean, obviously at that stage of the season, Crawley were kind of, they were bottom half. They had a stupendous run. As we record this, we're waiting who is going to go up in the League Two playoff final. They've been phenomenal at the back end of the season, but at that point in the season, yeah, probably fair to say a shock. And Colchester was struggling all season too. So, yeah, then that kind of 1 win in 7s is where it sort of dented you a bit because you'd have been well in the playoffs otherwise. At that point. Yeah. Bradford and a crazy game against Swindon as well. 4-3 at Swindon with Uncle Nick shared in that match.
Yeah, the Swindon one was like my standout match of this time. It was, I think we were 4-0. We were getting beat 4-0. Came to the 92nd minute and we pulled 1 back. So you're like, right, why have we started playing in like the 92nd minute? Then Brad Hills added 2 within 3 minutes of each other. I think it was 97th and then the 100th minute. So we're there thinking, what a comeback this is. But it's annoying because if we'd have only conceded 3, we'd have got the draw. I know, like, you were always saying, like, if we could have done this, if we could have done that. But it was frustrating to see how quick we crumbled when they scored. But then you're getting on to 90th minute and we're like a completely different team. And to pull 3 back in such quick time, you're like, could we not have done this a bit earlier and we could have got the 4th in the 90th minute rather than the 3?
Yeah, if you could have just not taken the first 90 minutes off and, just start at least 10 minutes earlier, you'd have given yourself a shot, wouldn't you, for a late equaliser? It's amazing that momentum swing you can get in a game like that, as you say, down and out of it, not looking like you're playing or doing anything, and then 1 goal sparks chaos. Swindon fans must have been very sitting thinking, what's happened here, in the complete reverse. That's a bonkers game that we love. It's a bonkers game that we love.
Yeah. It's like when you've got your striker playing as a right back, your centre back playing as a striker, no one knows what's going on.
Just play anywhere, chuck everybody up at that point. Literally, who's the tallest player usually, and then just throw it into them and see what happens. Is always a good shout with seconds to go. That's for sure. So in terms of away fixtures, you've got a few. Is there any particular away grounds that are your favourite, Rebecca? Might not be on that list. Is there an away ground that you have a favourite that you've been to in League Two or previously?
Oh, that's quite a hard one. I'm trying to remember which ones I've been to now. We did quite a few. I think overall this season I recorded 50 matches.
Oh, wow, that's more than Accrington did in the league.
That's more than Accrington season. I think don't know. Each one was a bit different. I mean, like, Barrow, was it Barrow? I think it was Barrow that had the look of Silverstone. That was quite weird. We got drenched, and there was just a random, like, railings in front of us. So you could hardly see. I don't know. It's not going to work. It was Barrow.
It was Barrow. Barrow was the one. There you go. So we've got halfway through the season, and now we've got to the bit that Rebecca's been waiting to talk about. If anybody's watched us on Absolutely Lower League, or anybody who's on the Absolute Football Podcast who's in our Lower League chat, will know that Rebecca's quite a fan of Seb Quirk. Seb Quirk gets a mention quite a lot on the pod, on the group chat, everywhere else. Tell us about your affiliation with Seb and where it all comes from, Rebecca. This Seb Quirk. He's been donned an ice hockey legend in the group chat. Isn't it? I don't know where that's come from, but
so we signed him last January. So he's been at the club a full season and a bit now. We signed him from Everton. So I watched him quite a lot in the Everton under-21s, and I think one of the standouts for him was we played Mansfield in the Cup, and Everton under-21s knocked him out, and Seb we were at Goodison for that one. So it's like that's one of the main ones I remember him from. And then we signed him, I think he made his debut near the Leeds match. And I think he got an assist in that one, which were quite good. And then this season, I sponsored his home shirt with the departure of Ethan Hamilton. And he started off the season very well. He was in and out of the team, whether that was as a sub or as part of the starting 11. But you just didn't know where he'd be playing. He's at the moment being played quite a lot as a right back with Accrington, but he is a midfielder, so he covers it well. He did get sent off in the Harrogate match, but he did come back into the side quite strong. He was still starting or just coming on as a sub, but he was getting longer than he was towards the end of the season, which we will come to. And then the turning point for him was against Stockport. He came on as a sub, he was on for 10 seconds, and he snapped a tendon in his hamstring. Ouch. So it was, I was coming back from, I think it was Everton and Luton, and I got the notification. I was like, oh, no, it can't be happening. So he was out until the 1st of January. So he was out for quite a long time. And then he was only training with the team. So he did warm up on the 1st of January. And I was like, right, we're back. And then he was on the bench in the cup match against Bolton. And then I think we've only ever seen him on the bench since. He made an appearance against Bradford. We were 3-0 down at the time. He comes on at half-time. I'm there celebrating it like a win. Yeah,
you can tell that the notification in the group chat, we didn't need to have anything else for a substitute at Accrington. It would just be like bing, 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 bing. Quirky's on, it's Quirky time.
I think we had like a hashtag going in there as well throughout the whole of this season.
Hashtag bring on Quirky, absolutely. Well, hopefully now we'd say you can have a decent, have a break, a bit of a pre-season, get strong, and hopefully break through next season back into that first team again with hamstrings all sorted and no issues.
Yeah. Another thing to point out with Seb is if anyone has ever watched an Accrington or Everton under-21s match, his socks, the back of them, there is more hole than sock. I think he's got like 3 massive holes in his sock.
That's the new thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had an injury when he was younger, so it's like recommended that he does it now. But yeah, if you ever just see some socks cut up, you know whose they are. And then I think it was Newport fans, I think Kieran mentioned that they picked up on his socks and were pointing him out quite a bit. And then we also had me screaming at Newport when he came on in the 87th minute. And I was told by many people that I could be heard.
made it aware. I mean, it's to do with, is it the pressure of like the calf and the hamstring and everything? I suppose like almost over compression, I guess. So that's why they sort of cut the socks through. So my mum would have gone ballistic if I'd have done that. I can imagine that would be sort of, you're buying a new pair of football socks every week, so I'm cutting them up. She got mental.
I think in the programme when it was Seb's feature, he said that he takes his socks home to wash them because he feels bad on the kit man having to wash these really holy socks. But and because he goes through quite a lot in a season, so he'll cut one pair and he'll wear them up until he has to get rid of them. So he washes them himself.
It does the fit. I suppose that at least he'd know they were his, I suppose, unless, other players catch on and follow the same thing. But, if he's the only one cutting his socks up. But there you go. Look, looking after the club at all times. Quirk with his socks.
Yeah. As long as we please play him next season. Please, Accrington. If you're watching, I said this about Ryan Astley and Dundee and he made his debut, his first start. So if I say it again about Seb, hopefully it'll work the same.
It'll work. We'll have more Sebs on. There'll be more use of those socks. He'll go through more socks next season because he'll be playing more games. That's what we want to see. So moving into the second half of the season, obviously we're sort of passed over January here. So you brought in a couple of transfer additions as well. You had, I think Radek Vitek came in goal, and you had Bickerstaff came in up front as well. And I think what was Walsh came in as well in the goalkeeper front. So you'd made a couple of additions. What did you think of, interesting particularly in Vitek? Because I think I watched him play for Manchester United in the pre-season. He had a really good pre-season game, and then he got loaned out for the first portion of the season. So what did you make of him?
We did go through quite a lot of keepers. I think Joe Walsh was one of our 2 emergency loans. So we had him and John McCracken. Mm-hmm. And then we brought in Vitek because we did seem to be struggling quite a bit keeping keepers fit. But Vitek, an incredible keeper for us. The saves, he's a unit. He's a giant.
Big, yeah.
He's massive. But yeah, it was a great signing. We needed a keeper. We had a very solid centre-back partnership, and then we did struggle with the keeper. So to be able to have him, it was a really good addition to the team. Hopefully, we could maybe get him back next season. I think that's been a bit of a rumour of another potential loan next season. We did lose Josh Andrews. He was on loan to us, and then I think he was on loan from QPR, and then they recalled him and sold him. So that was quite annoying. And then we did sign Bickerstaff. Don't think I saw him play.
Was that an injury, or was that just didn't gel, or never turned up?
No, never heard anything about him, I'll be honest. I think we saw him when we were at Wrexham away, because he was on loan from Wrexham. So I think we saw him then, just stood there having a chat with all the Wrexham lot. But I think he could have come on a couple of times, but we hardly saw him.
Yeah, hardly saw it. Vitek possibly might go back. I mean, I know there was a few United fans that were clambering for, after the pre-season performances, to just keep him around the squad to see as like a third choice goalkeeper. At that stage, I don't think they'd bought their backup, the Turkic Bayindu, I think. So Vitek was a possibility, I think, because he played really well in those games. You said real kind of unit, real kind of control. But possibility you may well get him back. And as you said, a firm goalkeeper and backline will certainly help. I think 5 different goalkeepers I saw you had, which was the most in the division, I think is not always helpful for keeping clean sheets and a strong defence. That is for sure. But a lot of so moving on this portion of the season, not only 3 wins kind of on that kind of run. You had 3 losses at the back end as well: Crawley, Walsall, and Wrexham. And so as you said, a few injuries. Was this sort of injury times was some of the reasons you think the squad was sort of being hit a little bit, struggling a little bit with the depth versus some of the other teams?
Yeah, when you compare the team we started with, the team in the middle of the season, and then what we finished with, it was completely different. Like we were playing Matt Law, who is our number 9 as a right back for a lot of the season when he was fit, but then he was hit with injury. We had a lot of our main key players. So like Sean McConville, he was out for a while with injury. Liam Coyle only came back towards the end of the season, and he was our go-to for the 22-23 season in that midfield. So we did get hit a lot with injury, and then it was quite hard because in terms of goalkeeper, we had no idea which one we were going to have each week. We bought Jack McIntyre at the beginning of the season, and then we ended up with Toby suffering an injury. So that's when the emergency loans started coming in. But then we also had it where one of our emergency loan keepers got injured, and we didn't have time to get another one, but we couldn't start Jack McIntyre because if he'd have started, he'd have made too many starts, so we wouldn't have been allowed an emergency loan. So it was all like, it was quite odd and quite scary of that, right, well, who are we going to have play? Because there were talks of our under-18s keeper, I think it was, having to start. As soon as the ball went out, we were making a sub. But I think one of them matches got postponed because of the weather, so it came in quite handy.
That wasn't you setting the sprinklers off, was it? We haven't got a keeper. Stop. Anything we could do, get it postponed. And of course, as well, in amongst those games, of course, you are HerGameToo advocate for Accrington Stanley, and your duties are involved with that. And you had a fantastic HerGameToo day. You there's a game a season, isn't there? Sort of at home, sort of focus, and yours was Gillingham. Tell us about what you do with Accrington HerGameToo and what that day was for you and for Accrington.
So at Accrington, you've got me, who's the advocate, and Geordie, who's the ambassador. And we go around, we've got a big selfie frame, we have pin badges, and we're just promoting the name of HerGameToo. The work that we've done with Accrington is we've now got free sanitary ware in the toilets all around the ground for women. We've also raised enough money to now have baby changing facilities installed. And then we also this season signed a new player advocate, which was J. Rich Bagaloo. We always seem to pick the tallest player that we can find. Last season we had Michael Nottingham, who's like a 6'5" centre back, and then this season we picked J. Rich, who is also a 6'5" centre back.
Just for the pictures, so they have to get further and further and further away to take the photos.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so Gillingham was our dedicated fixture. So this is when we had the players warming up in HerGameToo t-shirts, which is one of the best things to see. Like when I see, in my case, Seb Quirk, favourite player, running around wearing a HerGameToo t-shirt and knowing what the campaign is, it is really good. We also had glasses that were red love hearts with ASFC HerGameToo on them. All the players are really supportive and ask a lot of questions about the campaign, and they were more than happy to put these glasses on, and we took a photo. We did also get John Coleman in them, which everyone was really shocked when I told people. I was like, oh yeah, we got John Coleman in them. Like, what? You were able to get him in them? He was well up for it. It was really good. But yeah, that whole day, it was really positive, apart from the result. But just seeing people walking around, coming up, asking us about what we do, what the campaign is. And then we've also had like little girls come up to us and be like, oh my God, can I have my picture with the frame? I love it, and getting really excited. And just seeing, we have seen an increase in females at Accrington. We don't know whether that is fully just down to HerGameToo or anything, but we like to think we have helped.
Well, I'm sure you've had a positive impact on, as you say, that it gives them, it gives young females that kind of someone to look up to. They can see it do it. They can see how much you've got love for the game, and that it's fun as well, and involving as well. So it's fantastic campaigns that HerGameToo, and to bring females into football, whether it be playing or watching or whatever. So I think you do a brilliant job, and say everybody's watching this, do support the HerGameToo campaign and support Rebecca and her team at Accrington, and keep your eye out for next season, because there'll be another one, won't there?
Yes. Hours are usually around January time. We like just doing hours at random points. So yeah, we settle on January. We feel as though it's like a great one to start the second half of the season, get the bounce going, and yeah. But it's also really good because we have fans like pointing out when the players are wearing the t-shirts, like, oh, I know that logo, or oh, they see whoever wearing it, like, oh, that's really good. But yeah, the players are all amazing with it, and so are the fans. I mean, each week we're near enough asking the same fans, do you want a picture? They're always like, yeah, of course we will.
Yeah, we're back again. We'll have another one, don't you worry. It's really good. It's really positive. And great that you could kind of do that. So disappointed at the result, but the day itself was massive for females, and hopefully, you, as you said, you're seeing more of them come and support Accrington, as well as other fans getting involved, which is what it's all about. But one name, so you mentioned that we haven't spoken too much yet on the podcast, and we're coming to that bit, of course, was John Coleman. We did have at that portion of the season, John Coleman, obviously, well, he was let go by Accrington effectively. It was a sort of sacking, but at the end of a very long tenure. So we'll just put this together really just to sort of outline what John Coleman had done at his time in Accrington and how it kind of all ended and where it went to. So I'll roll the video here.
A monumental change occurred at Accrington mid-season in March with the end of the tenure of long-term manager John Coleman and his assistant Jimmy Bell. They were removed in charge of the club following a run of only 3 games won in the calendar year, losing their last 3 and only taking 5 points out of the last 21 available. There was a lot of background noise coming out of the club, and the pair were due to be out of contract in the summer. The decision was taken after a 4-0 defeat by Wrexham. Liverpudlian and Coleman first took over as boss of Accrington in their non-league days in 1999. Coleman and Bell took the reformed club back into the Football League in 2006 before leaving in 2012 to manage then League Two neighbours Rochdale. But after lasting just a year at Spotland, they returned to Accrington in 2014 after short spells at Southport and Sligo Rovers. Coleman and Bell then won a second promotion with Stanley to League One in 2018, the highest the club had ever been, but they were relegated back to the EFL's bottom tier in May 2023. Coleman managed Stanley for more than 12 years across 2 spells, the most recent of which saw him and Bell take charge for nearly a decade, prior to a brief statement made announcing their departure. At 9 years and 6 months, in the second spell in charge, Coleman was the longest serving manager purely in the EFL. There's a record now taken on by Coventry City boss Mark Robins, who's been in post since March 2017. However, 2 Premier League managers in Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola had been in position longer, of course until Klopp will at the end of the season. Harrogate Town boss Simon Weaver has been in his job since May 2009, but the Yorkshire club did not get into the EFL until 2020. It's the end of an era. The success that they've had at the club and the regard they're held, not just by Stanley fans but the general football watching public, really is the end of a tenure. There were clearly some things going on behind the scenes, as Andy Holt, the chairman, said that a combination of poor performances and public disagreements were the reason for the sacking. He said, "I've worked with John and Jimmy and most of the time it was great and fun. They performed badly in our relegation season. I didn't sack them like every other owner would have. They made serious mistakes, and despite this, I didn't want it to end. They went public and divided our fan base probably forever, an action that I did not deserve, having looked after them extremely well in my time at the club. It caused a lot of unrest towards the owner, towards the chairman, and towards everything at the club, as people in the fans and supporters were disappointed to see John and Jimmy move on."
So there we go. John Coleman, of course, left Accrington after a very, very long time, almost just under a decade, effectively, with Accrington. 1,098 matches, I think, in total that he had, which is an incredible stat. I mean, for you, Rebecca, must be, say, the best part of a decade, of about as much as you knew, wasn't it, as an Accrington manager?
Yeah, John Coleman is all I've ever known at Accrington. Since I started following them, it's just been, you say Accrington and everyone's like, oh yeah, John Coleman as manager. what he did for the club has to be applauded. I don't think the club would be in the position that we are now without him. Seeing us get promoted to League One and stay there for as long as we did, I think it was 5 seasons overall. It was incredible to see, and what he did with the team and the memories that I have of, especially the matches we played, seeing us play Leeds was one of the highlights for me, and it was very difficult the time when everything happened in terms of him getting sacked and saying goodbye to John and Jimmy. I think it's really important that we put them both together, because them two were such they were just a dynamic duo. Them two, honestly,
double act,
double act. You wouldn't get one without the other, and what they did for the club will live on forever. I mean, I think, as I said, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't have had the times we have, and you can see how important they were to the club with what happened after the announcement of the sacking. I think our first match after that was Bradford, which we knew would be a really tough match anyway. But there was a bit of, I think you say, backlash from the fans. There was a banner that was aimed at the owner, Andy Hall. There were black flares being used, which set off my asthma, so thank you, Accrington fans. But yeah, there was quite a bit of negativity towards ownership because of the sacking. Personally, I thought it was time for a change, whether it was the right time, because we knew Wrexham were going to be a really hard match. We knew we were going to go there and didn't really expect to be picking up 3 points, but then you don't really want to be getting beat 4-0, having one of your players be sent off in the 90th minute to just put the top hat on it all. But we were starting to see a drop in form massively. I mean, the last slide that you showed was 3 wins out of how many? I can't even remember now.
About 12,
about 12. It weren't many, and it did start to seem that there was a lack of subs, whether that was they were being made too late. So you're already you're 2-0 down, but you've got a chance. So you're 2-1 down, you've got a chance. We wouldn't be seeing a sub until the 90th minute just to try and save some legs or something. So it became a bit of you there screaming, saying, we just need a change. We're this player, that player, they're dropping off. Just get someone on. But it never happened, and we did start to see that quite a bit towards the end in terms of the starting 11 was the exact same each week, no matter what. And there were players that should have been having their chance, in terms of Alex Henderson, Conor O'Brien, but you'd hardly see them. So with the introduction of Doolan, we have now seen a huge change. We're still not seeing Seb yet, but we are seeing a change in terms of other players, and subs are happening earlier. Yeah, they might not be the right ones or the ones I want to happen, but we are seeing a change, and we've seen the team come back together. It seemed to just be they split apart a bit. I don't know, it's an odd one, because John Coleman's style of football is completely different to Doolan's. So the change we're seeing now is a positive one, but whether it was the right time for Coleman, whether we should have let him see out the season like a lot of fans wanted to, as I said, personally, I thought it was time for a change. Doolan has had it quite tough, because you had the fans still chanting for John and Jimmy rather than chanting for Doolan. But at Newport, that was the first time that I'd seen a full change, and they were singing John Doolan's Boy Me Army and proper they've been behind him from the start, but I feel as though that match was, for me, a big turning point, because it has been a rough season in form all season, no matter what manager we were under.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because at that time, there's not too many games to go for the end of the season, so you've got to do you just sort of stick with what you've got. But then I suppose if you're looking at it from a perspective of where you might be at next season, is that you've sort of had a run, give a manager sort of time, trying to implement a new style, bringing some different players through. Some of the players you knew were going to leave at the end of the season anyway, so you've kind of then now got hopefully the pre-season to continue training that style of what he wants to implement that's different to what Coleman did, and that maybe you'll be better for it, maybe what they thought. But it's very difficult for a manager that's been there for that tenure to kind of come off the back of that. And it's very rare at low league or in any kind of level that someone's been there for that long and had there's only been a few kind of in history that really have done that, so that they become so identical with the club, really, that Coleman was, as you said, everyone said Accrington, said John Coleman, there you go. So everyone's got used to that kind of way of that would be the case. So I think that's a lot of adjustment, probably, and particularly mid-season, to suddenly be like, who's that guy in the dugout? that's not John Coleman. It feels completely different. So yeah, I'm not surprised or shocked. Was the general consensus more, you said lots of sort of chanting, but amongst sort of the majority of the fans, that they were disappointed with Coleman going more so than they felt it was the right thing to do?
I think so, yeah. Accrington has been very high on social media with certain situations that have gone on. I won't go too much in depth with them ones. But it seemed to be because of, like, as we've said, John Coleman was Accrington. So to see him go, to see fans lose a manager that has been there since a lot of them have started going, it was a shock more than anything for fans. And I feel as though there was disappointment, there was anger. And I think the Bradford match, they got it all out, and then it's football. It is what it is, like head down, move on kind of thing.
That's it. There comes a point, and then it gives you the time, I suppose, for those people to kind of accept it, and then say, you said, by the end of the season, starting to chant the manager's name, hoping towards a new season and what's going to happen. So we will close off this season with the final results that you had there. So as you said, Newport was a win in there, but by that time dropped into the bottom half of the table, 17th place finish. It's not like the lower league show where we do the top half in capitals and the bottom half in lowercase, because it's a special. Everyone gets capitals. There's no favouritism here on this one. So Accrington can be in capitals for a day. There's some difficult kind of losses within there. Some tough games towards the end as well. I know Mansfield and Stockport were kind of up, but that's difficult to run through. Doncaster as well were in a great run of form at that point, so hard. But and a win on the last day of the season, Rebecca, must be happy with that.
Yeah, it was a good way to end the season. It was a very, very well played match. We had players back from injury to see out the season, the likes of Liam Coyle, and I think we could have had Matt Law back at this point as well. So it was quite an emotional one, because you are saying goodbye to some of the best players we've had, like Brad Hills. We all knew the end of the loan was there, but it was a great team effort, that one. Alex Henderson scoring in front of the Clayton end again he said this season it was his dream to score in front of the Clayton end, and to do it quite a few times and to finish off the season scoring in front of us all, it was a really good one. Jack Nolan, 2 penalties, leading goal scorer. He's found his scoring boots this season again, and he's been on form for us. It's been a good one to see, especially with losing Josh Andrews. So we had no striker. I mean, we had Josh Woods, but we did lose our main front man in terms of Josh Andrews. So to have Jack Nolan coming through, getting the goals for us, it was a good one, and it was a nice feeling last match of the season to top it off with a win, especially with the upset of last season, because we knew we were relegated at home that day. So we had Oxford away last season, and then the home match was before. So last home match of the season, we knew we'd been relegated with the result. So it was a lot more positive. And yeah, I mean, another talking point, the loss to Bradford at home, we were 3-0 down at half-time. We did seem to lose matches in the first half. That seemed to be our issue to like quite a bit in the season. This one was a key example. It was the same with Wrexham. So that was Doolan's first match in charge. And the first time we saw Seb get 45 minutes, that was the match he came on at half-time.
That was the one.
that was the one. Swindon away, absolute rocket from Alex Henderson. He's been one of the standouts, which we'll cover later on. And then the win away at Newport, that was, I do apologise to Kieran, but it's a good one because I've hardly seen Aki win away. I think it was the whole of last season I saw him win away once or twice. So to see us win away a couple of times, I felt a bit better.
It was well overdue. Well, hopefully next season there'll be more. They're just getting their practice in, ready for next season. And we're not finished. We're not finished at all by a long shot because we want to talk through. We've mentioned certain players, but we want to run through the squad in terms of how they performed overall. So we'll bring up here, starting off. As we mentioned earlier, five goalkeepers used, which was as much as anybody else not all at the same time, but through difficulties with injuries, etc. I think you had sort of Toby Savage start of the season, picked up an injury, and then everybody else seemed to sort of catch it. So generally, what did you think about your goalkeepers' performances? You mentioned Vitek earlier there, but difficult for all of them coming in and out, I suppose.
Yeah, it was difficult. McCracken was a strong one for us. When he came in, he did do quite well in the short time he was with us. But it was quite funny because it was every Friday at about 1:00, I think it was, we'd just get the notification of, oh, he's extended his loan. It was just each Friday. So when he left, we were like, well, what notification are we meant to get now? But yeah, he's doing quite well at Dundee now. But yeah, I thought him coming into the side was good. Jack McIntyre, he didn't really get that much of a chance. I think we've released him now. He did play, I think it was Sutton away, and got beat 4-1 in that one. So I think it wasn't the best, but he was he had character, did Jack McIntyre. He'd hate me for saying this, but he'd give off like Jordan Pickford at times because he'd just scream at him, or he'd just be a bit like nuts and just wander off, and you're like, no, get back. But yeah, it was. I think all of our keepers, they were good. It was just very hard coming in and out because, especially with Walsh and McCracken, they could have been sat there like, right, well, am I at Accrington or am I back at my parent club next week? But yeah, hopefully next season we can have a keeper that doesn't get injured and just have one solid one. If it's Toby Savin, it's Toby Savin. If it's Vitek on loan, I won't be annoyed. But yeah, I think Savin, he did his shoulder this season, which was a shame because he was a main figure at the back for us.
Yeah, so hopefully in the next season you'll have whoever it is, whatever name it is, can stay fit, and that you've got that solid goalkeeper, stay in one piece, and see them all the way through the season. So definitely not easy for the many goalkeepers that you had there. Moving on to fullbacks, so you've got Lewis Shipley joined in the summer. He made 31 appearances as a left back. He scored twice, I think, including last day of the season against Tranmere. You've got Kelvin Miller. He featured as a right back for part of the season. I think he's one that's been confirmed that will leave in the summer, isn't he, in the retained list? Is he one that's going? You've got Longolo, as you said there, who's played at both fullbacks further up the pitch and a few goals, including that screamer within his name. And Conor O'Brien played right back and left back after his return from his loan at Farsley Celtic in the National League North. And if I read right, just signed a 2-year contract this week, I think, to remain at the club. So happy with that?
Very, very happy. He has been an outstanding player as Conor O'Brien. He's been one where fans have been annoyed if he's not in the starting 11. he's been a very, very solid player. He's come into his own this season, and it's been really fun to watch him play. He's quick and he does enjoy throwing in the tackle from time to time. But yeah, he's a good one, and hopefully with this new contract we can keep hold of him for a bit longer and see him develop even further, because I think he's going to be a key one to watch over next season.
Well, definitely, he seems to be in Doolan's plans as well, doesn't he? So, and that 2-year contract probably does it. So, more likely, you'd expect, as long as he's fit and everything, will be on that starting lineup when you come to next season. Moving into centre backs that you've got there, of course, mentioned Brad Hills, your player of the season that was given there, featured in 41 of the 46 games. And alongside him, so you had Rich Begaloo, 6'5" out here, Australian centre back. So yeah, I can imagine probably dwarfed over you guys with the picture that we had. Played a fair portion of the first half, but Gubbins was the main partner, wasn't it, for Hills? What were those two like as a pair?
They were outstanding as a pair. They worked really well together. They were both really intelligent centre backs for us, and when they were playing together, you knew that you were all right. You didn't have to worry about them. It was disappointing with Jay Rich picking up an injury, because the partnership between him and Brad Hills was a strong one at the beginning of the season. I mean, like Brad Hills getting 3 goals, you just applaud him. He's outstanding. Pickles is one of our youth ones that's come up. But yeah, Hills and Gubbins together was a fun watch, and they were both, you'd hear them shouting in Clit and then just saying, right, you go there, you go here, you do this, you do that. But yeah, they'll be a big miss. So we do have quite a few gaps to fill as centre backs now, but their shirts are going to be hard to fill.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to fill, and that's what you want, a bit of leadership at your centre-backs. And yeah, watch this space in terms of who's going to start, though, I suppose, for next season. Moving into centre midfield that you had there, so you've got Liam Coyle. Last season had that horrible injury, didn't he? That facial fractures that he suffered. And again, injury issues, so he made limited appearances this season. Ben Woods, another of your summer signings, made 40 appearances, mostly as a holding midfielder, but chipped in with a couple of goals and assists. Dan Martin was usually, I think, your partner alongside Woods. He made 40 appearances as well. And of course, the captain himself, Corneli, with over 340 appearances now for Accrington. He missed a portion of the season with injury as well. And I think he's just signed a 1-year deal, so he will make his decade at the club as well. How important has he been to your team over the last decade?
He's really important, is Corneli. He's a great player, but not only that, he's a great captain. Like, you can see him every match. He's there. If he's playing, he's on. Like, if he's playing, he's on pitch, of course. But if he's not, if he's injured, he's always at the ground. He's such a leader, and he wears the badge with pride, as everyone would say. He's amazing, is Corneli, and it is a shame that we've seen him hit with injury, but even with that, he's still there. He's still putting a shift in week and week out and getting the goal that he did. Yeah,
it's important having those leaders around, even just the club and the dressing room. So with his experience as a captain, even if, with his injuries or whatever, if he starts to maybe not play every week, or, more even moving into that, it's going to be really important. As you said, a number of young players coming through, it'll be really important to kind of guide them as well. So some good players there in your midfield. Anything else in terms of those in centre midfield you wanted to touch on?
Dan Martin. What a season he had. He was in his extension this season, and he has come into his own. He has been running that midfield. He's been a standout, and quite a lot of fans have started to notice him a bit more. I think he was I don't even know how to describe him. It's just one of them. He's been there in our midfield, and we do want him to get a goal. I think he's the next player I want to see score at Accrington. But honestly, no, Dan Martin, he had a point to prove, is what a lot of fans thought, in terms of like getting a new contract. Because I think he was signed on for a 1-year deal, so it was like he had a point to prove in terms of, right, want to be in the squad next season, and he did it. He's been a standout in our midfield, and the partnership of him and Ben Woods has been amazing. It's been a really good watch in our midfield. I mean, it was a shame with Liam Coyle because he did have an injury this season as well. So he was very limited to how many times we could see him play. And we were thinking, right, who can fill that gap? And Ben Woods and Dan Martin filled it perfectly. And I think Dan has got an extension, and so has Ben Woods. So I'm excited to see them two back partnered together next season, especially with the development over this season, and to see Dan go from a player that was on the bench quite often and playing in the unders to now being one of the first names on the starting 11. It's really good.
No, super positive. You have got a partnership there, as you say, for next season that's secured and good, and hopefully even better next season, having played together. So really positive in centre midfield. And I've kind of categorised these as attacking midfield. It's always difficult because they play all over the place. Midfields change and whatever, but just to sort of group the players together. So we've got here Joe Pritchard, key attacking force when he returned, but he missed the first part of the season with an Achilles tendon rupture, I think, a really nasty injury. How did he perform after coming back? Because that's quite a big injury to come back from, isn't it?
Yeah, he came back, and I think the goals speak for themselves. You're coming back from an injury and you get 7 in your return. He was a very, very influential player for us. He was missed when he had his injury, and he did come back with a great run out. He did miss quite a few matches throughout the season due to different knocks or different injuries. So if we can keep him fit, he is a key man to be running down the wing, getting crosses in, and also netting a few goals.
So yeah, he did super well. You've also got, say, Tommy Lee in his 3rd season with Accrington, 8 goals, as you said earlier, 4 assists, but predominantly from attacking midfield as well. And Alex Henderson, so mostly used from the bench, but started to come through the team a little bit. 5 goals with 4 of them in League Two itself. 19 years old. You excited about what Alex Henderson's starting to develop into?
Very, very excited. I think this has been his breakthrough season. He said, as I mentioned, his dream was to always score in front of the Clayton end, and he did it quite a few times. And the smile on his face when he scored was amazing. But he scored a worldie against Swindon as well, it's always fun to see. But yeah, this has been a standout season for Alex, and I feel as though we've got him under contract for next season, which was a really nice announcement before the Tranmere match. So announced the night before, like, oh yeah, we've signed him on a deal. So because I think we finished the season with only 2 players in contract before, of course, we signed Alex Henderson, one of which was Seb. And the other was Jay Rich. So we were heading into the Tranmere match like, right, how many players are we saying goodbye to here? And then knowing that Henderson had put pen to paper, you're like, right, we're making moves here. We're getting them under contract. But yeah, he's been a good one this season, and hopefully he can carry on. I mean, 5 goals from 24 appearances, with a lot of them being off the bench. I think he's a good one.
Yeah, there's positive stats, as you say, and now sort of signing on. It's good, it's these young players, isn't it, developing through that you're signing onto these contracts that you hope continue to improve. So really exciting to see what hope he's going to bring for you next season. Moving into kind of the wide areas, of course, won't touch too much because we've done a bit on Seb Quirk. But Sean McConville, of course, another long-term club legend, over 350 caps. So struggled in terms of featuring this season, and I think he's off as well. I think, isn't he's one of the release lists. What's McConville been for Accrington fans over his tenure?
Oh, he's been outstanding as McConville. He's a little wind up with the away fans at times, which is
you gotta love it. You gotta love it.
Yeah. Very entertaining to watch. He'll score in front of them and then go and do his celebration, and they're all there going, ah! Heard him with a lot more bad language, but I won't get into that. Yeah, McConville, he will be a big miss. I'm hoping he might go into coaching or potentially stay with the team, because I do think his influence would be beneficial. He understands what Accrington is And to put that out there and to influence like the younger players that are coming up, I think if we can keep him around the club will be a great one, because he's got the intelligence and he knows what he's doing when it comes to football. He will be missed, but yeah, he's had a good innings, as they say.
And so hopefully coaching might be a way in, and he can pass that knowledge on to the next generation. So yeah, I will be sadly moving from the playing squad. But as well, we had on wide players who had Sean Warley played either wing in his second spell at the club. Sort of vice captain, I think, isn't he, for Cornelia when available? 36 as well, but still committed to the Accrington clause. Another one of the old boys. You've got Jack Nolan there as well as your top goal scorer with 17 goals, but not only that, 14 assists as well, which is, that's more than a goal or assist per game in terms of his productivity and the attacking stats. And at just 22, really exploded for you, this guy, this season, didn't he?
Yeah, he's been one to watch this season as Jack Nolan. Hopefully we can tie him down for a contract next season. The goals he's scored, the assists he's provided, we wouldn't be where we are in the league and where we were throughout the season without Jack Nolan. He's been a really influential one this season, whether that be scoring or just crossing them over. But I think he's one with, as you mentioned, his age, he's still quite a young one. But then the up and coming ones are learning a lot from him, because he is like quite a mature player in the thinking wise in terms of being in the squad. So yeah, it's a good one. And then to be learning from the likes of Sean Warley, I think that's always going to be, you've got that influence, you've got such a talented player, and to be still going, it's amazing. And you do see a difference when we bring Warley on, whether he starts, whether he comes on as a sub. You do see a difference in the team. You can see him organising. You can just see a huge difference. You'll bring him on, you're winning, but it doesn't matter because he's still playing like, oh, we could get another, we could do whatever. So I do think learning like Jack Nolan, in terms of learning from Sean Morley, we do have a really good partnership with them too, to get some more goals next season from Jack. Hopefully, if we can tie him down to a contract.
Hopefully, watch this space. See what happens. Wait for that next social media post that comes out. Hopefully that's the one, and he can stay, and he'll be at Accrington next season. And finishing off in terms of the players here, we've got your list of strikers, as you said. Josh Andrews, who was on loan for a portion of the season. You've obviously got Matt Lowe there, Jake Bickerstaff, who we mentioned earlier, didn't play too many times. Josh Woods and Adedoyin. In terms of your attacking players, who impressed you the most out there? Obviously, most of the goals were coming from Nolan, weren't there? But Adedoyin and Andrews chipped in with a few.
Yeah. Matt Law, we played him more as a right back. And can I just say, what a right back he is.
Yeah, I did want to put him in the right back, but I thought I wanted the special mention of a striker playing at right back, because that's something else, really.
Yeah, you've got your number 9 as a right back. Josh Woods, he's such a talented player. He's quick on the wing. He's always in the right places. He just can't find the back of the net, but he's always putting in the effort. And hopefully next season, the floodgates can open for him, because he puts in the effort, he puts in the training, and do really want to see him go far with us and hopefully find the back of the net a few more times next season. But yeah, he's one that we do struggle for strikers, so to have him still at the club, because he's gone into his extension, he's the only one on there that's left at the club now, because we've also released Adedoyin. So I feel as though next season will be Josh Wood this season. But if you clip that and it happens, just know.
This is it. Prediction in May 2024 that Rebecca has, when Josh Wood scores 40 goals in League Two next season. And
we're going to have Seb starting every match. We're going to have Dan Martin get his first Accrington goal and Josh Woods be our leading goal scorer.
There you go. Predictions straight off the bat. straight off the bat. And of course, then that brings us to, I mean, this slide is always one. It's just nice to see the players in a kind of formation. It's difficult because you have so many players coming in and out. But I mean, what was the main difference you saw really there? I mean, obviously, you've got that midfield kind of three. Has Doolan done anything different in terms of formation wise for you since he's been in charge, or is there any real fundamental differences in playing style that you can really point to so far?
There isn't many, to be honest. We think, well, personally, I think he's just been trying to see what works for next season. It's like we knew when we hit the 50-point mark, we were safe. So it did just seem to be like, oh, right, we've got whoever. We've got Dan Martin, right, let's try him with Ben Woods, so you'd put them together. But then other weeks you'd have Ben Woods and Dan on the bench. So we do think he was just trying to see what was going to work for us more than anything. In terms of, I think we just had Jack Nolan playing wherever he wanted, to be honest. He was on wing, he was up front, he was wherever he could score from, he was. Mm-hmm. And then there was a couple of times where set pieces, we did see a bit of a difference with them, whether that be who took them or the way that they were set up for. I mean, one thing that frustrates me with Accrington, please stop doing short corners because they never work. You've got 6'5" Jay Rich, about 6 foot Brad Hills. Just whip it in and let him get the red on it. Don't start trying to do a short corner. I think we tried one when we played Wrexham, and I think they scored from it.
If you've seen the lower league podcast, that's a Claire bugbear as well. That is lower. Yeah, short corners are not a big fan of. Not a big fan of. As you say, if you've got them, try and hit them. I get that you're trying to sometimes do a different angle and maybe throw one in now and again, but yeah, I don't want to see too many short corners. Get it in the mixer. Yeah. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So there we go. We've come to the end of the 23-24 season. It's finished in 17th for Accrington. So now we're going to ask the question looking ahead, which is difficult because, as you said, a lot of players going. You don't know who your team's going to be yet. So very difficult to make predictions how well you think you're going to do. But just off the bat, where do you think Accrington could potentially finish next season?
Playoffs. I think it's going to be playoffs. I'm getting really excited with the signings that we're getting released now. So we've got Alex Henderson, Conor O'Brien, Seamus Keneally, Seb and Jay Rich so far, I think. Apologies if I've missed anyone. And then we've got Dan, Ben Woods, Josh Woods, to name a few that are on the extension. So it is really, really exciting. And the team we are building, hopefully we could get like a couple more centre-backs and a striker in to play alongside Josh Woods. Feel as though if we have someone playing alongside him, then we've got it sorted. But I am feeling very excited, and I do think playoffs are going to be. I'll be happy with playoffs. If we get automatic, expect me to be screaming every week on the lower league podcast. But I'll be very, very settled with playoffs, especially seeing Accrington are the only team that haven't been to the new Wembley.
The only team, is that? Wow, there you go. You've
Crawley
earned
have made it with them.
True, yeah.
So,
well, that will be hopefully this time next year. You see, you'll be waiting for. We'll have to delay the 24-25 season review because you'll still be waiting for that Wembley final to see how it all pans out.
I really hope so. Seeing Accrington at Wembley and going back up to League One that'd be something special. That really would be.
That would be fantastic. So we will wait and see. But thank you, Rebecca, for taking us through the wonders of Accrington season, the ins and the outs, and spending the time to talk us through it. I've enjoyed these ones because it's nice, as I say, to take a time in a club and not a club I've, had at some stage I will watch Accrington. There you go. There's a pledge. I will go and watch Accrington at some point and experience it. Probably not Wembley, but I'll come and see you play at home or something sometime. And thank you for your time to go through it all with us. As you say, you are part of our podcast team. We do many different things. So this is our part where we'll plug everything, what we do. At the moment, we're doing stories of the season. We're going through the season reviews for the clubs of the teams. We're still continuing through the summer. We have 3 live shows a week. We have the Premier League show on a Monday. We have the Women's Super League and the Women's Championship on a Wednesday, and we also have the Lower League on a Thursday. But we'll be covering European Championships, the Lionesses, quizzes, where's Claire, games that we play, silliness, just topics that come up. We'll be going on. We're probably going to do a bit of mix and matchings. We're going to get all the different people on different shows crossing over with each other over the summer. There'll be plenty to keep going. Transfers. Rebecca can keep us updated on all the Accrington players that are coming in through the door, the 700 centre backs that are coming in to bulk up that position. So there'll be plenty to keep apprised on. But of course, if you're not following Rebecca, for more of this Accrington following, where can they follow you and where can they follow your HerGameToo stuff as well?
They can follow our HerGameToo stuff at ASFC HerGameToo. We are on Instagram and Twitter, so we're very, very active on there on match days. And then my personal one is I get laughed at because of the amount of underscores that I have. So it is _Rebecca _short_.
Underscores all over the place. That's it. Go and give Rebecca a follow if you're not already. And here we are. It's the podcast socials. The podcast socials, of course, are here. We are the Absolute Football Podcast on Twitter at Absolute Ball Pod, and YouTube Absolute Football Podcast, and on Twitch Absolute Football. So if you enjoy what we've done there today, please drop us a like and subscribe. Josh always says on the channel, an angel gains its wings every time we get a subscriber. Hit that notification button so you don't miss anything else that we've got coming out over the summer. At Absolute Football Pod, we are on TikTok, little clips of what we're doing and fun little bits on there. Instagram, Absolute Football Podcast _ with some of these wonderful graphics that you see on screen. Threads is pretty much dead, but now and again, you might still find us on there. It might happen. We might go back there one day. Who knows? When the world's in an apocalypse, we'll be back on Threads. Who knows? And the Absolute Football Podcast on Facebook, we are as well. That's Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays live at 8:30. And just recorded shows as and when they drop. So always keep on piece with the channel. Stuff is always happening. But thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you have a fantastic time in the summer, what you're doing. And we'll look forward to the new season. And we will catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.